Everyone, welcome back to the New York Business Leaders Podcast. I'm your host, Gordon Coyle, and today I've got Drew Blumenthal with us, who's a digital marketing expert. Welcome, Drew. Good to have you.
Yep. Thank you for having me, Gordon.
Great. Why don't you spend a couple minutes and introduce yourself and tell us what you do, and then we'll kick it off from there.
Yeah. So I am a digital expert, everything from web development to SEO to organic social media, pretty much everything on the web. So I started really getting into digital back when I was in college. So I started doing internships, as most people do. I was a marketing major, and I started to learn about like SEO and SEM and social media. And I'm like, wow, you could reach so many people and build an audience. And I just found it really fascinating. So I did a few internships in it, and then I graduated in college in 2016. And then I specifically looked for jobs in digital marketing and digital advertising. I knew I wanted to move to New York. I was originally from New Jersey, so I applied for a ton of jobs in New York City and Manhattan for large ad agencies. I ended up working at a large ad agency on Samsung, where I started getting into like Google ads and things like that. And then I moved to another agency and then worked on Johnson & Johnson on Google ads and some Amazon, and just really grew my foundation in it. And then I started going off on my own in 2017. And really, first I was like really focused on the paid side, and then really started to expand to other things like web development and organic. And really where it came from was everything is very, very synergistic, meaning that if you have a poor website, for example, you're not really going to be able to advertise efficiently, or you're not going to be able to really get the most out of like what you're promoting and get new business. Or there's so many times where on the paid side, somebody's growing so quickly, and it's like there's only so much that you could bid on. There's only so much relevant there. And the SEO side or the organic side goes synergistically with the paid side, meaning say that there's the perfect keyword for your business, like digital marketing near me, for example. If you wanted to pay for that keyword, if you're not showing up on the page organically, you're missing 50% of the traffic on that relevant term. And there's a lot of traffic that you could bring in organically that you're not paying for because you don't have a budget. And therefore, you're able to then retarget or remarket, which is just basically a buzzword of, say someone visits your website and you get started hitting with ads. If you could get more traffic to your website organically, your paid ads end up doing better because you have more people in your audience that are already aware of you.
So there's a lot there to unpack.
Yes, a lot to unpack.
And I love this conversation because I'm in the thick of digital marketing as well.
Mm-hmm.
For you and a lot of people that listen and watch this, they know that I am very active in YouTube and digital strategies. And I constantly, as I mentioned to you earlier, I'm constantly getting asked, well, how do you do it? And it's a conversation that could take hours upon hours to explain. So right. In the short amount of time that we have, let me take a step back and ask you, who are the target clients that you work with? That may give us a jumping off point.
Yeah. So, I mean, I work with a variety of clients, but I'd say like areas that I focus on, e-commerce is a big one. Like you'll consider hearing more and more of people with Shopify stores and WooCommerce stores that are really trying to grow their online sales. Other ones that are good ones are like lawyers are very good for SEO and SEM specifically because Google is the new yellow pages. But yeah, I mean, SaaS is a third one that I feel like is a really strong one, just because people now we are in the digital space are always looking for software and tools and things like that to really help their businesses. And again, SaaS can vary in so many different areas. And for people that don't know what SaaS is, it's software as a service. So any kind of software that you can really buy.
So we've got retail, which is e-commerce.
Right.
Digital retail. We've got lawyers and other professional service firms. So
yes,
selling a service, and then software. So a pretty broad market in terms of who you target and cater to.
Right. It's more of What I'm looking for are quality websites. So if a website is not, and when I say quality, I mean, is there proof on the website? Is it mobile responsive, meaning can you see it on a mobile device pretty well? Like, are there good, strong call to action? So are there good forms? Are there clickable phone numbers? Like, those are the things that I would consider a good website, because if someone gave me a website and I look at it and it's not up to par, there are some digital marketers and digital advertisers that would say, I could do this for you, no problem. And then the client ends up getting burned because the website isn't performing well. Like, let me give you an example. So there was a guy who came to me a couple weeks ago, and he owned a service-based business in like kitchen remodeling and bathroom remodeling. Very, very straightforward keywords in terms of what you would bid on. Like, it's not, there's no magic keyword for PPC in this or SEM. So if you bid on kitchen remodeling near me, he wasn't getting the conversions in terms of form completions and calls that he was looking for. And I pushed him and I said, look, we're bidding on the right terms. People aren't converting. And therefore, he made optimizations to the website, which I reviewed in terms of adding testimonials. He added more details of what the services included. He took off also any stock images that were on the website, because that hurt the trust. And then the algorithm did start getting conversions. And therefore, I know AI is a very, very big buzzword, but AI is very important to digital advertising because it is machine-based learning when you bid on keywords. So when you set up your conversion tracking, Google uses signals to figure out who to target next. So it is really interesting where Google will be able to say, I know to target this person on this keyword at this time of day, on this day of the week, based on your conversion data. So if you're not able to provide that conversion data because the website can't convert, that's why some people say, I'm not getting any leads or I'm not getting any conversions. And it's kind of, as the digital advertiser, it's hard because you can bid on the perfect keyword and show to the right person. But if they're not converting because they don't trust your website or not having a good web experience, then the ads may fail. And that goes the same thing with SEO. When you're trying to rank organically and not pay for the clicks, you could get all the traffic you want, but if you're not getting conversions or you're not getting leads that turn into business, it can a lot of the time really stem from the website or the user experience after the click that really determines how well somebody does online.
So let me just kind of break down a couple of keywords that you use. So first one is keyword. Tell us what a keyword is in digital marketing.
Sure. So a keyword is the target word that somebody is searching for. So when you go to Google, it's basically your yellow pages. It's your ticket to what you're looking for. And basically, when you need something, you're searching for it. So what the keyword tells the advertiser and also determines the person is, you're looking for something. So you're sitting down and you're like, I need this, whether it's a product, whether it's a service, you have intention for it. And that's very powerful, because say you're doing billboard advertising or TV advertising. Yes, you have audiences to target, but at the same time, it's you happen to be in the right location at the right time. With search, whether it's organic or paid, somebody is raising their hand, sitting down, whether it's on their laptop or their desktop or their phone or their mobile tablet, and saying, I need this right now. Meaning that their intention to convert is a lot higher than a lot of other types of advertising, because somebody is saying, I need this right now. You just have to be the best person out there when they click on your ad or your organic listing to prove that you're the right person for that particular need at that time.
So in the example of the client that does kitchen remodeling, keywords for him may be kitchen cabinets, kitchen remodel, kitchen countertops, remodeling kitchens. All of those are the keywords that you're talking about, right?
Exactly. So
Okay.
you would bid on those keywords. So when someone in a specific geographic area searches them, you would show up. Then there's also the flip side of what's called negative keywords, meaning that you're also able to block terms. So say, for example, you're in an industry where you're like, I want $3 million clients and up, for just an example. You can block people that search for things such as affordable or low cost or cheap. Like, there are people that search that way too. And search also is very powerful because people are saying exactly what they need and they're searching for exactly what they need. So they're able to tell you, I want this specific thing. And you're able to tailor your search terms or what you show up for based on what someone is actually searching for.
So, so if the company that does high-end kitchen remodels, their average job is $100,000, they don't want somebody that's going to click on or search for cheap kitchen cabinets.
Exactly.
So they block them from their profile or however that algorithm works.
Yes.
And pay-per-click, or you use the phrase PPC, which is pay-per-click, which is paid advertising, which can be Google, Facebook, Instagram. What else am I missing?
I mean, there's so many different ones. I mean, there's Pinterest, there's Twitter, like Facebook and Instagram are still the big players in the social media ad space. I mean, I'm sure you're aware of this, but it's gotten a lot harder to advertise on Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, basically what happened, and I'm sure a lot of people listening have heard this already, is like this iOS 14, which basically means a lot of data isn't there anymore that used to be there. I mean, we were spoiled. Like years ago, before this, we got all the data we wanted. Facebook ads gave you all that data, the algorithm optimized, and it was great. Now, with the opt-outs, Facebook and Instagram have to estimate the conversions that you're trying to get. So if you're trying to get leads or purchases, it tends to underreport, meaning that you have less data to optimize with, and it's harder to get results. That being said, on that side, you can increase your results and get better data and be able to get more conversions if, one, you have better creative, meaning the ad needs to be very eye-catching, and therefore years ago people used to get away with, because the algorithm was so good, using stock photos, poor photography. Like now, because of this iOS 14, you really need to focus on quality creative, meaning what is your offer, using text overlay in the images that are eye-catching, really focusing on what click-through rate is. So click-through rate is clicks divided by the number of impressions or people that are seeing it. So like, for example, I always paid attention to this metric, but now it's really important to know, am I getting a link CTR or link click-through rate or percentage of people clicking on the ads above 1%, meaning that you want to get people attracted to the ad to click on it. And if you have a low link click-through rate, then your ads are most likely not going to do well, because you have less data to work with and less conversions. So the algorithm has to work harder to get the same results. The other thing, again, which I talked about a little bit with the SEM and the PPC, is the website experience. Now your website experience matters even more, because if it's going to be harder for the algorithm to show and get conversion data, you're going to need to make sure your website, again, is very high quality, which I'll mention these things again just because they're so important, is making sure the website has a good mobile experience, making sure that the website is trustworthy, meaning that you have reviews and testimonials and social proof and all of that, making sure that you have strong call to actions, meaning it's easy for someone to fill out a form or click and call you or click and email you, and that you're really explaining the value of the services or the products that you're selling. And that all really is important now, even more than before, to be successful.
Okay. Two other phrases or key, words that I'd like you to kind of define and differentiate. SEO and SEM.
Yes. So SEO stands for search engine marketing, and that's organic, meaning that you don't pay for each click that you get.
You mean search engine optimization?
Yes, search engine optimization.
We use the term so interchangeably.
I know, it's like wired into our brains. But with search engine optimization, you are organically trying to rank for these keywords, meaning you're trying to get essentially to page one. So that's also what other people in the industry consider like average position. So your average position of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. That is page one, because most people don't go to page 2 or 3 or 4, but you don't magically get there one day. Like there's a lot of strategic tactics and learning what Google likes and doesn't like to really get a keyword to page one. Mm-hmm. And that can take anywhere from a month, 2 months, 6 months, 8 months, sometimes even a year or 2 years, depending on how competitive a keyword is. So basically, when you're trying to rank for a keyword, you need to look at a few metrics, such as keyword difficulty. And keyword difficulty is a score from 0 to 100 on how hard that Google, and I also use a tool called SEMrush, which gives me this data as well, in terms of how difficult it is to rank for a keyword. So if a keyword has a difficulty score of, say, 100, it's not impossible to rank for the keyword, but it means that it's probably very broad and a lot of people are trying to rank for it. And also determining where a company is at and what their budget and their size is also determines the level of keyword difficulty I can go after. So I work with a lot of different companies. So I work with companies that are small businesses, but also ones that are pretty large as well and have larger marketing budgets and are driving hundreds of thousands of people to their website. And if you're driving that many people, then it is more feasible to rank for keywords with a keyword difficulty of 100. So if I can see you're driving 100,000 users to the website, then it is very well possible for me to say, all right, if you're not ranking in the top 100 for this keyword with a keyword difficulty of 100, it's going to be possible. But if you're a mom and pop shop and you're like, I want to rank for this keyword that's very broad, that has a keyword difficulty of 100, I'm going to shy away from it and focus more on keywords with lower keyword difficulty that maybe aren't as competitive, meaning less people are trying to rank for it, and they're probably a little bit more specific and long-tailed. So maybe the keyword, for example, Apple, probably has a keyword difficulty of 100 because it's so broad that there's probably 200,000 searches a day easily for that term. And so many companies that sell apples or Apple products or things like that. So if Mott's, for example, wanted to go after the word Apple, they're probably already ranking on page one for the term. But if Joe's Apple store on the corner is trying to say, I want to rank on page one on average for the word Apple, it's just not going to be feasible. So finding keywords that fit within a budget and a strategy that's reasonable, because you can try for months and years to even rank for a keyword. And while you're not paying per click, you're still paying for somebody's time to rank for those keywords. And therefore, it's hard to keep paying for marketing and advertising when you're not earning a return. So at the end of the day, what I look for is a return on ad spend, or ROI. So the ROI doesn't always come day one or day two or a month in, or sometimes even 2 or 3 months in. But the goal is over a period of time when you're doing marketing and advertising, between what you're paying for the ads or what you're paying for the time, you need to make a profit on what you're spending on that time and money.
So, and for sure, because there's nothing more frustrating than spending, whether it's several $100s a week or several $1,000s a week on ads and getting nothing out of it. Right. So just kind of talking about keywords and long tail keywords, go back to the kitchen remodeler. So somebody says, oh, I want to rank for kitchen remodeling contractor. It's going to be very tough, But if they said, oh, I want to rank for kitchen remodeling contractor in Westchester County, somewhat easier. Or high-end kitchen remodeling contractor in Bedford, New York. That's going to probably be a very easy keyword to achieve. It's not going to get you the same volume of searches, but you may be able to, and this is all in combinations, and this is where you need to work with an expert. Trying to do this stuff on your own, and I've tried to do it on my own, is so confusing. So that was search engine optimization. What's the difference between search engine optimization and search engine marketing? And I know we kind of touched on both.
Search engine marketing is the paid side. So that's when you're paying per click for those keywords, meaning it's going to say ad next to it. So you'll see when you search something, usually the listings at the top and the bottom of the page, they have a little black ad next to it. And therefore, you know that somebody's paying for that click. So therefore, that's the difference between paid and organic. So organic is usually the listings in the middle that don't say ad next to them. But obviously Google cares about both, but the paid is where they make their money. Organic can only get you so far because with organic, you also, one, can't be at the top of the page. Like usually you'll see 3 ads at the top of the page, and organically is usually in the middle, which on a mobile phone can be like in the middle of the page. And then the other thing too is on the paid side, you can use machine-based learning to optimize for conversions, which I talked about. So when I set up a Google Ads account, for example, I'm setting up all the conversion events so the machine learning can use that budget as efficiently as possible to get as many of those conversions as possible. With organic, I do set up the conversion tracking, but you can't optimize the same way for conversions the way that you do on the paid side. So that's very, very different in terms of metrics or KPIs, which stand for key performance indicators, is that the metrics that you're trying to focus on or optimize for on the organic side are like average position and clicks and impressions. And obviously you can report on conversions, but they're secondary. On the paid side, that's where you focus more on the conversions because you're paying for every single click and you're able to say, I want this click and not that click.
Got it. And I think today, what you were kind of getting to also is that maybe in the past you were able to do paid advertising, whether that was on Facebook or Google, with relatively no other public-facing website, kind of SEO type thing. You could have kind of a crappy website and still get results on paid advertising. But today that's kind of changed because the buyer habits have changed. Is that right?
Exactly. I mean, pretty much so. I mean, with the loss of some of the data, especially on the Facebook side, you used to be able to get away if you optimize for conversions with a poor website because you got all the data. When you're missing some of the data now and the machine learning has to work harder, it's more important to have a good website because if you don't and you're missing data, then it's going to be harder for the machine algorithm to find conversions. So say you're losing 70% of the conversion data in the platform that you used to have, missing that data means that the algorithm has to work twice as hard to find the same amount of conversions, to find purchases or to find leads or whatever you're looking for. So that's where I would have never said in the past, oh, build a crappy website and you'll get great results. But at the same time, you used to be able to get away with it, where now it's just, if you don't have that good website and the creative that I talked about, it's just really, really hard to see results and people get frustrated with it. And unfortunately, they blame the platforms a lot of the time. And it's like, unfortunately, Facebook is great. Like, I still think the same users are on there and the same people are still ready to convert. It's just, again, everything always has its glory days. Everything always has its new and the best it can possibly be. And obviously, over time, things just change and platforms change. And again, there are still plenty of people banking on this stuff and doing well. It just makes it harder than it used to be.
Yeah, I think early adopters they took the risk, they also got the reward, and they figured it out and built their business up through, early adoption, whether that was on a paid platform or SEO, and the next subject I'd like to talk about is video. There's still a lot of businesses that are sitting on the sidelines, small businesses that I predominantly work with, that think, I'd like to do video, but it just seems so complicated. And my response is, it's only complicated because you make it complicated. It doesn't need to be. And there's so many tools out there, and you don't need a $6,000 camera when this will do just as well, for the most part. Why don't we talk a little bit about video in terms of how that impacts digital marketing and conversions?
Yeah. So videos are really, really helpful. I mean, there's different types of videos. So for example, one type is like explainer videos, which if someone's going to your website and they don't know you, watching a short video or an explainer video, or even just a short clip of yourself, is really, really powerful. I think people feel so much pressure on camera to be perfect, and like everything needs to be great. I mean, one, it can be edited, and two, people aren't really looking for that as much anymore. Like, people want to see authenticity, and therefore that's where the camera can be so powerful, because people can feel, hey, I get to know this guy, I get to trust him. Like, there is a lot of power to video in terms of really getting to know somebody without having to meet them. So like one short video, just somebody doesn't even need to listen to you for hours. They can listen to a 30-second clip or a minute clip or 2 minutes or 3 minutes and get to really feel someone's personality, know that they're an expert. And again, you could do that all when you're sleeping or doing other things. So there's so much power to video. I mean, YouTube has made people millions and billionaires just because people adapted YouTube so early. And even now, it's so many people, it's just a habit of, hey, I need to learn how to do this, or I need to do this. And they watch a video, and it's great because you get the sound, you get the visual. It really helps with everything. So all your senses are really like triggered in or pulled into a video. So that's why it's so powerful compared to an audio clip, or like there's just so much that you can get out of it in such a short amount of time.
Mm-hmm. And I think the key word that you used that I find is very important is trust. Video imparts trust to the viewer, enough so that, as an example, last week I was away, and videos on my YouTube channel converted 2 or 3 deals for me that ended up in conversations. And even though I was down in Florida, I was able to arrange a call and speak to somebody and converted a prospect into a new business opportunity 3 times. So it's not like I needed to be on the phone that day making cold calls or outbound, contacts to somebody. The YouTube channel was working 24/7 and, turning over leads for me. I think it's a very powerful thing that a lot of business owners, small business owners, aren't capitalizing on. And I think it's a missed opportunity.
Exactly. Because it's the way of the world now. And there's like even TikTok, and it's just video seems to be more and more powerful. And the same thing with ads. There's nothing wrong with an image, but doing a short 5 to 30-second clip that somebody can just see as they're scrolling. And even if somebody refers you and you're thinking, oh, my business is all referral, how could videos help me? If somebody's making an introduction to you, yes, they might trust the introduction, but the video is going to also take it to another level where somebody's going to feel much more comfortable talking to somebody if they watch a video or two and really get to see the expertise and the personality and really everything together.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And there's, just kind of maybe going back to the basics, you may feel as though that it's overwhelming to learn how to shoot video, edit it, produce it, post it, socialize it, all these kinds of things. But even for small business owners, you don't need to do that all yourself. There are so many other options out there, using either somebody like Drew to do some of that work, or going on Upwork or Fiverr or hiring a VA. You don't need to go it alone. And there's so many tools and people that can help you very effectively and affordably that I guess my kind of coaching hat is on to say, don't let this opportunity pass you by because you're afraid of the complexity behind it. It doesn't need to be complex.
Right. And yeah, and like I said, especially with Fiverr, you could get a video edited for like $5-10.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many people all over the world that can help you with that kind of stuff. Or like I said, you could hire somebody or you could learn it yourself. Like you could also go on YouTube and watch videos on how to edit videos. And it's crazy to think, but all the power, and that also is what really got me into the field too. It's so interesting that years ago, if you wanted to start your own business, how hard and laborious it was to really start a business on your own. And now all the tools and all the resources are readily available and not crazy expensive. Like I see posts all the time that it costs under $200 to start a business, or it costs under $500 to start a business, or these tools are free, or like there's just so many resources now that are available to a general population that didn't exist in the past.
Yeah, yeah. So let's talk about a small business. Let's go back to the customer that's a cabinet shop.
Yes.
They come to you and they said, we want new business through digital. They don't have a website. They don't have a presence on YouTube. What do they need to do to get started, and how long does it take for the first lead to come in the door, roughly speaking?
Right.
How do they do it?
I mean, the number one thing is the website. The website is the cornerstone to everything. So
Okay.
you can either have a website or another thing called a landing page. So a landing page is a single page that you can build. And if you Google landing page, you'll see there's so many landing page builders now, where instead of building an entire website where you have the service pages and about us page and the contact page, it's all on one page. So it's a lot easier to build. And again, you can run paid ads to it. And then you could really generate leads that way. Or like I said, the website is really important because whether you're running paid ads or doing SEO or getting referrals, like it's your mark on the world. It's where people are going to see you. It's usually when you Google a business, the first thing that somebody sees, and it's your way of controlling the narrative. So whether it's a landing page or a website, that's the first thing. And then, like I said, if you want leads right away, paid is much faster than organic because you get the traffic right away. And it can really vary, honestly, based on how long it takes. I usually say to somebody with paid ads, like, you need to really give it like 3 to 4 weeks at least for the algorithm to learn, to see what keywords work, to get out any bugs. I know that there's so many people are like, I want it now, I want it tomorrow. And it's really hard because there's many times when I run a business and it's like, especially if they're more established, it's so easy to say within a week or two, they start to get leads or more leads or improvement. But especially when you're starting off the ground and you have no data, no learnings, no anything, it really takes time to run out the kinks. And sometimes you might think my website is amazing, I love this, everything's great. And then you put it out to the world and people don't like it. And then it's you can't take it offensively. You really have to go back and say, all right, why isn't this working? What can I test? What can I improve to get to the place where I'm getting the consistent results that I'm looking for?
And one thing that I'd like to add there and have your commentary on is, if somebody says, okay, I'm ready to do this, I've got a pretty good website, I want to do paid ads. How do they establish the budget? And I guess I'm kind of getting to like, if this is what you want, and if an expert like you says, okay, it's going to cost you $1,000 a week to get some ROI out of this, and you're going to need to commit to 4 weeks or 6 weeks, whatever it is, I'd like your commentary on that. What do you think?
Sure. So I usually say to a business, I look for $50 to $100 a day to really start a business out, just because it is machine-based learning. So if you spend $10, $20 a day, it's really hard to get the consistent conversions for that algorithm to learn. So I really say start out at $50 to $100 a day. Don't start out with like $500 a day if you have no data, because you're going to end up wasting money. So spend enough where the algorithm can learn and you can scale up from there. So that's usually how I approach it. And then, like I said, as you get good results, you can then like make those decisions of, do I want to increase? Do I want to make changes to the website? Like, do I need to change keywords? And then once you're earning a good return, or the leads are good quality, or you're getting the ROI that you need from the purchases, then that's when you could scale up. So that's really my approach to it. And again, I'm not the type of person to say you're legally obligated, and if you cancel in 3 weeks, like I'm not going to ever speak to you again. But I do try and feel like if you're paying for the ads and you cut off too soon, or say for SEO, you're not getting the results because you haven't ranked to page 1 yet. Like, I don't like when people cancel early, because it hurts, because Google or myself are the ones making the money and not you. And I can't say that every single time I do this that I'm successful, but I try and at least give people every opportunity to succeed. And if you're going to cancel early, a lot of the times you're only hurting yourself, and that's just frustrating.
Yeah, and that's kind of where I was getting to, is that if you're going to enter into this, you have to have the mindset, okay, Drew is telling me I need to have $500 a week to start off, and I need to, as a budget, and I need to think that I'm going to be spending that $500 for 4 or 5 weeks, and that budget may go up a little bit as the algorithm, or as we learn what the algorithm is doing, or I might be able to back off because I don't need that many leads. But is 4 to 5 weeks generally the testing period to get the sense of what the ad is going to do?
Yes. So usually, like at the first week or the second week or the third week, if you don't get any conversions, I'm not too concerned. I'm obviously watching it. But once I get really to that month period and there's nothing, I really need to assess where the drop-off point is. So for example, I look for click-through rate, which I already talked about, which is total people clicking divided by the total number of views, meaning if you're having a low click-through rate, maybe the ad copy isn't resonating with someone, maybe the ad itself isn't, and then you need to go back to the ads. The second thing on Google that I really look for is the post-click metrics, like time on site. So like, how long is somebody spending on the website? Because if they're spending 3 seconds on the website, then probably they're not converting. And that means that there could be a website issue that's causing people to not convert. But then also, if I see that people are not converting and the time on site is really high, maybe there's something there that they don't trust. So they're reading the information, but something there isn't resonating. Maybe they can't find a contact form. There's something there that's causing people to really get stuck. And therefore, it could be a website issue if you're just looking at the post-click metrics and they're making it to the site, but they're not converting. So really going through all of those steps and really trying to diagnose the problem, almost like a doctor, and trying to see like, all right, what needs to be done here? Because unfortunately, what ends up happening is if you make the wrong decision, you don't improve. Like if you try and diagnose it yourself, or sometimes people are like, I know what the problem is, I'm going to do this change or that change, and it ends up being the wrong change, then it doesn't fix the problem. Because if there's a website issue and you spend more money, or you try different keywords, or you change, say, how you're bidding on the keywords, like if that's not truly the reason why you're not generating leads, it's not going to get you more leads. So you have to be very strategic when you're looking at the problem and trying to diagnose it.
Yeah. So I guess the message is that A, you have to set a budget, a dollar budget, and B, you have to set a mental budget that
Right.
you know you're in this for a certain amount of time, and it may cost you a little more. Down the road, you may cost you a little less, but that there's a lot of tweaks and adjustments that may need to be made. I think a lot of people kind of get into this and they're like, oh, I can spend $100 a day and get leads from it. That's great. I'll do it, And then after 5 or 10 days, they're like, I blew through $1,000. It's not worth it. I didn't get anything out of it. And it's like, well, you didn't get close to the finish line yet. You got to keep, you got to keep running. You got to run through the line to get to it. So I think that's the message that's important to understand.
Yes, completely agree.
Yeah. Drew, we're kind of running up onto 40 minutes. I want to be respectful of everybody's time. Is there anything we missed that you'd like to kind of put into the conversation before we wrap up?
No, I mean, I think this was really good. I mean, again, really, one, as we just talked about, be really patient. 2, really understand metrics, or hire somebody who can understand the metrics for you, because the numbers are really important to diagnose the problems and really improve. And number 3, again, the biggest takeaway is making sure you have good creative and good copy and a good website or landing page. And if you do all of those 3 things, and you should be successful.
Yeah, points well taken. I think, understanding that none of these elements of digital marketing stand on their own. They're all kind of interconnected. So having the right pieces put together is critically important to get ultimate success from it.
Yeah.
Great. Drew, why don't you tell us what your contact info is? If somebody wanted to reach out to you, how's the best way to do that?
Absolutely. So you could go to my website, digitaldrewsem.com. You could also send me an email, drew@digitaldrewsem.com, or you can also find me on Instagram @digitaldrewsem.
And I think that's a good point, that when you get a domain name, to be consistent across all the platforms, so that it's not like, over here it's Golden Coyle, and over here it's GB Coyle, and over here it's the Coyle Group, or whatever. So having some consistency, and that's a lesson I have to learn a little bit of myself.
Yes.
So I appreciate the info and the expertise that you gave us today, Drew. That was an awesome conversation. I'll put your contact info in the show notes on the podcast and in the description box on YouTube. If you've got questions or issues and you'd like to learn more about digital marketing, reach out to Drew. I'll also have my contact info in the show notes and in the description box, because I'm always looking for guests to have on the show. It was interesting. Drew just reached out to me. He kind of went on a list and saw I had a podcast, said, hey, I'd like to be on your podcast. It's like, great, come on. And I'd like to have anybody who's got an interesting story or a business that they'd like to talk about here. So reach out, connect, and we'll find time to chat online. Until the next time. I'm sorry, go ahead, Drew.
Yep. So I was going to say, thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. It was a great conversation. Until next time, everybody be well, and we'll talk soon. Take care.
Yep. Bye.